Finally getting a little chilly out there.
Definitely.
All right, Don. You're taking the roll?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great.
Where's here? Okay. Let's see. Kara is here. Dave. That's Albert. That's Kathy. Laura. Lisa's here. Okay, I'm Steve Bowers here. Okay, I've got everybody that's here signed in right now. We'll continue adding as people arrive. Yep.
Sounds good. Okay, welcome. October 16th, 2025. We have minutes from last meeting. Any adjustments or edits on the minutes? If not, we'll take a motion and a second to adopt them.
I so move.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
And Kara. Great. I think it was Kara.
No, I wasn't here. I wasn't here, so no.
Okay. So we've got Catherine, I think, right?
Yep.
Great. Okay, great. Anyone opposed to the minutes, speak up. Great. Those are accepted. So we have a short agenda, and I'd like to reserve some time at the end before we go into the kind of local updates, just to talk a little bit about maybe where we're at. It's not a good place that we're at, generally speaking, on the national level. It's as probably as bad as we've ever seen it. And I'd just like to talk about that, not to depress everyone further, but partly because it's very difficult in this environment to, I think part of the goal of the administration is to disable us and to dishearten us. And it's working to some degree. So we have to figure out how we can kind of resist that and fight back. And I think we do a lot of things in the community here outside of this group, and including what we've done here as a group that helps to do that. And we can give examples. But I'd like to have that lead into maybe a brainstorm of what we do while we're waiting for the climate action plan funding to come through and get started on that big project, which will take most of our time, hopefully, in the coming months, in the next year. And I don't really want to be in a position of waiting. It doesn't feel right at this time. So I've got a few ideas, and I'd like to hear what other people think. And I'll give a quick update on some of the terrible things being done by this administration, just to kind of set the framework a bit and remind ourselves, because it's important. You know, you start losing touch with it. It's just overwhelming. It's a lot of every day. It feels another announcement of something being taken down, defunded, rescinded, canceled, and over time you can. It's hard to keep track. And I think it's very important that we continue to keep a record in our heads as best we can, and we continue to talk to other people about what is happening. So that's that. Let's start with what is happening, if anything. We haven't talked in a little while. What is happening, if anything, on the DEC grant?
We have submitted everything that they need for them to begin what they call routing the contract through their system. So we did finally receive their approved work plan and budget. I don't know what, if you recall from our last meeting, it took them like 12 weeks to send back our initial work plan and budget for us to review. We just blanketly accepted all their changes because we didn't want to slow things down. We sent that back to them, and it took another 5 weeks for them to basically approve their own handwritten work plan and budget. So we have that in place. They also said, gave us a list of we also need these items, three or four items in order to get the contract going. We sent that in. We had that all ready to go anyway. So we've sent that in. I believe it was like yesterday or the day before. We sent everything that in, and so it's back in DEC's hands now.
And it's being rerouted or routed.
Yeah, well, they have to
Routed.
take all the documents we send them and upload them into this the state financial system.
Yeah.
So that they
Okay.
are there and everybody can see them and whatever, and write up a contract to send to us for us to sign, and we check Matt, the chairman of the board of supervisors, has the authorization already to sign the contract, so we don't have to have any kind of resolution on our end. So he can sign the contract as soon as we get it and send it back to DEC. And once that happens, then the first thing that they will want to do is to have a meeting with our CAP committee. They sit down, sort of an initial kickoff meeting with our CAP committee,
Okay.
just to go over the schedule, our future timeline, and also review our RFP.
So we have to wait for that meeting before we can issue the RFP? Like they need to
I
approve?
believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're about 6 months delayed, more or less, it seems, from what we were hoping for. So hopefully we'll hear before, the next few weeks, and then we can get this meeting scheduled, if not before the end of the year, really early in 2026.
Yeah. My guess is that initial kickoff meeting will happen sometime like January, February of next year. That's just, that's my guess, Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if anyone has any questions. There's not much to chew on there other than waiting. But thanks, Don, for continuing to hustle on our end to make sure they have what they need, so we're not the cause of the delay. That's really helpful, and we appreciate it. It's frustrating, I'm sure, for you as it is for all of us. So thanks. Any thoughts on that? No? Okay. Any updates on clean energy communities programs? Did you have an update from the county level, Don, or not?
Yeah,
really?
we haven't talked about it in a while, mainly because there hasn't been a lot of action between us and the state, or as far as, the grants go. But we are still in the process of installing four-port EV chargers at the courthouse. We're installing the heat pumps at the courthouse. That's an ongoing project. And we are, and we also have the grant that's going to enable us for some energy efficiency upgrades here at 401 State Street.
Great.
Which we have not started. That hasn't been bid out yet, but we have the energy study has been done. I don't know if that's complete yet, but we will, once that's approved or accepted by the county, then we can pick and choose which projects from that energy study we want to use to fund with the grant, with the $100,000 grant that we have.
So Don, Ron Knott reported yesterday in committee that we expect to have the study results at committee next month.
Mhm.
So
Okay, good.
then we'll have something to work from.
Great.
In terms of the next rounds of funds, we're obviously, we'll get to this later, seeing a tremendous amount of things cut at the federal level. Some of the funding in clean energy may come from that. I don't think it does, though. I saw Tara's on, and Don, maybe you know as well. We've talked a little bit about the future of the clean energy program. Do we have any clarity on what's coming next and what the next opportunity is?
Yeah, I can kind of talk to that a little bit. They are going to have a next round of the program. We're actually in the development of the program right now. I'm kind of supporting the development. Excuse me there, I'm getting over a cold. And basically, there's, I think they're trying to make this like a round for high achievers, which I think a lot of the communities in Columbia County, including the county, are. So I think you'll fit well into this. But They're just trying to push communities further instead of the baseline things like benchmarking and things like that. But the money is secure. Fortunately, the money for the Clean Energy Communities Program comes from the Clean Energy Fund and RGGI, which are these two kind of statewide and regional cap and trade type programs. So that money's there. It's not going to, it's fortunately going to be there. It's just a matter of how they shape the program and when it comes out, which they're hoping for April of next year is what we've heard. So definitely nothing before that, but it's in development. So
Great. Well, we'll look forward to hearing an update. Thanks, Tara. So that and any other updates, we can save the community updates for the end when we can talk about clean energy projects or anything else as we normally do when we go around at the end. So just to get through the initial agenda, and then we can have that brainstorm about upcoming activities. The final Capital Region Climate Action Plan has been put out and is available, as is in the agenda. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that. I haven't had a chance to really look through it yet myself. So that's a good, we can put this in the list of activities that we can do in the meantime, which could be meaningful, which is familiarize ourselves with, especially those that are going to be more involved in our own climate action plan process and expect to kind of lean in. That's a good thing. Familiarize ourselves with that plan and that fluency will just help us move forward. The more of us that are involved in that, and I intend to do that certainly. Tara.
yeah, I just wanted to add that we are starting now that the plan is done, which we're super excited about. And I encourage you, if you are not into PDFs, to check out the portal link on there, which is like a story map. So it's like, just a little bit easier to digest, and there's some really cool graphs and data in there. But also just noting that Haley and I are here to support communities. So if your community wants to kind of take the data from the plan and create your own report for an inventory, for community inventory, I should say, dive into the data, kind of learn anything about it. You can get Climate Smart points for that report. But also we could help you go further with a community climate action plan, just starting to look at the mitigation measures and see what makes sense maybe for you. But just please reach out to Haley or I. If you should likely already be in touch with us. But if not, just reach out and we can see if we can help you with that. So.
Great. Thanks, Tara. Don?
And I just add that Tara did send us for the county, pulled all the information out for the county, so we have all that information. I don't know if I posted it on our website yet, but I will double check and make sure that that's there. So thank you, Tara, for that. The greenhouse gas inventory, community greenhouse gas inventory. Yeah. Yep.
Great. The only other main agenda item other than the kind of organizational updates, we do task force member nominations. If you haven't yet asked your supervisor or your town board to renominate you, or if you intend not to be renominated and can recommend or work with your town to try to find someone else to be nominated, that would be appreciated. Those nominations need to be sent to the town will send them to Patrice Perry in the planning department. They need to be in by Don, as soon as possible.
Yes.
By the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, if we want to be appointed before January, they really have to be in, because there's no committee meetings and whatnot in December. So it should be hopefully in by November for the November meeting. I'm hoping.
Do they have to go through a committee and then go through to the board? Or?
That I can't remember, but it's, earlier the better, obviously.
The committee meetings are in the beginning of the month and then the board meeting is later? Sorry, Brenda, you're muted.
Committee meetings for October have taken place, and the committees meet after the full board.
Right.
So, I think just get them in, and most town boards have met by now too, I think. So, in our town, at least, our town board approves the appointment before we send it to the county.
Yep.
So, but let's get the timing from Patrice, Don, and then you
Yeah.
can send a memo out. We can back it out.
I'll send a reminder email out again.
Great. And has the county sent a message, a formal reminder to the towns on this?
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing it.
well,
Did you send it?
I believe Patrice sends an email to all the town supervisor. You might have gotten one, I don't know. But
I don't
believe-
remember seeing it, but I'll check.
Yes, I think she does send a reminder email to the supervisors and mayors about it.
I
It may
don't
have
think
been a while ago.
Patrice is not on, is she? I don't
No.
think so. Can you just check with her, Don? Make sure that went out, and then it just be helpful if all of us kind of seconded that and made sure that message got across. I think what'll happen by default is we'll continue to meet until, people will get nominated on a kind of a rolling basis based on whatever's in. So that would be great. Okay. And let's do quick updates. CLC, Terrence, I know there's a big meeting tomorrow, or Kara. Kara, you're muted. Still muted. Well, tomorrow, let me just see if I can help. I think I have it in my calendar. Someone else can also, who has it at the ready, but tomorrow, wait, no, I'm sorry. No, it's not. When is it next week? Now I'm confused.
It's on the 22nd.
Oh, thank you. Okay. No, so next week, on
hear me
next
now?
Thursday. Okay.
Can you hear me
are you
now?
on? Yes, go ahead, Kara.
Okay, so sorry. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, so couple different things. The countywide conservation plan, we have our maps ready. They may need some final tweaking, but there's going to be a virtual town hall next Wednesday. And I think, Don, I sent you the details for that, and you all can register. Was it 7? I should have had this ready.
6:30.
6:30. And we already have a lot of people signed up, but we would love as many as possible. We'd love all of you to be there. We would especially love if, in addition to you, and if you're not already this person, if you could get any of your town board members, and especially the zoning board or planning board members to attend, because that's going to be really critical for work with municipalities to decide how to deal with conservation efforts, once the plan is complete. We've got some really cool maps that show the whole county and all the different ways, like an overall conservation map to show what are critical areas, but then individual maps for specific topics. And then on top of that, we're doing each town is getting its own map as well. I mean, we're creating a map, and then they're going to do specifics of it. So there's an overall map and a couple of the specifics like agricultural or water or ecological, and I can't remember what the fourth is. So the maps are coming out pretty cool. They're going to be a little hard to see on Zoom. I just want to give everybody a heads up about that. But hopefully we'll be able to zoom, no pun intended, zoom in enough so you can understand them. But we will have other opportunities to show the maps in person and blown up. But next Wednesday is the big town hall virtual meeting on the countywide conservation plan. The actual written report is still being finalized, so in the coming months, we'll have more updates on that. So on that particular topic, does anybody have any questions?
It It's 6 o'clock on the 22nd. That's supposed to be clear.
Yep, I had it down 6 to 7:30. So,
Okay.
and
Can
if
you,
you need to register, if you register for it, then you'll get a reminder with the Zoom link. So
Yeah.
that should be coming through shortly.
Kara, can you post the link to the registration page in the chat?
Sure. Yep, I'll do that in a second.
Thank you.
Great. And then the other fun thing that's kind of almost about ready to go completely live is the Takana Community Forest. We have the committee has been selected, as well as the stewards, the first round of stewards that are going to be working on the community forest, and we're going to have a meeting next week on that with both the committee and then the town, the stewards, if they want to attend that meeting as well. So more updates on that. That's a work in progress. We've never done this before, but it's super exciting. It's a wonderful place. We've already done a huge amount of tree planting on the property, and now the goal is to start figuring out a plan by the community to maintain it and then do other projects on the property. So stay tuned for more on that. But I think we reported, and Betsy, you'll remember the actual numbers. I think it was 1,200 or 1,400 trees were planted already.
It depends. who you ask.
Yeah, but at least 1,200, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, and we're excited about that. So I think those are the two big CLC reports. So if you have any questions on that, let me know.
Great. Thanks, Kara.
Sure.
We're getting some feedback. Didn't you unmuted? Okay. Yep. Went away. So thanks for the update. There is no written document or access to these maps that we could look at, or any of the information beforehand.
No, I don't think so. If you want something, email me and I'll see, because I don't know if they're all completely in final form, but let me know if you are really particularly interested, and I'll see if I can get those for you. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Kara? That's exciting. Looking forward to that. Christina, are you on? Any updates from the Capital Region Clean Energy Hub?
Christina is not on, and neither is Lindsay from Cornell.
Okay, we'll just move forward then. So before we get to local updates, let's do local updates, and then we'll get to this last kind of brainstorm. We'll end with that. So anyone have any other updates on what's happening in their communities, any events that are coming up, anything that you want to notify folks of? Matthew.
No events per se, but I just Germantown is moving forward with our solar project. I've had to be a squeaky wheel with National Grid. I don't know what y'all have for utilities, but there are a lot of hoops to jump through, but we're getting there. We have to be live by the end of the year, or else the town misses out on the $15,000 rebate. So the project will happen. It's just a matter of everything falling in place. So we're moving along, and that's going to feel good if we get that done by the end of the year, because after December 31st, all the federal stuff is going away. So that's where we're at right now.
Cool. Good luck.
Thank you.
How big a solar project is that?
It's rather small. Only 26, I think, kilowatt. Is the size. I'm not sure how many panels per se, but but we've been told that we can add to it. So that's a plus in the future.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brenda.
So I have three things to share. For those of you who may not know, Ghent has installed the first, to my knowledge, fast charger in the county. Craig Simmons was very interested and supportive of getting this fast charger installed, because I guess he is related to a towing company that's been pulling a lot of dead cars off the Taconic. So we do have our first fast charger in the county. We also allocated almost $30,000 in our town budget this year for tree cutting, as it was related to a vulnerability that was identified in our climate smart adaptation and resiliency plan, both steep slopes and in power line right of ways. We're very excited about making use of our adaptation and resiliency plan. And we are replacing the chargers in our park. We were an early adopter for electric chargers, so we are replacing the ones in the park this year. And the technology has really evolved since we put these in several years ago. So now the units are modular, and the software upgrades and the component part upgrades can be done individually rather than having to replace the entire unit as we had to do initially. So if you're having performance issues associated with your older installed EV chargers, it may be that your software has aged out. And so check into the new ones that are available, and they are available in the state buying contract. So you can get a reasonable price. There are no incentives for replacements, but there are good prices on the state buying contract.
Matthew. Muted.
Brenda, do you mind if I email you about some details about that later? Because we're having problems with ours in Germantown.
Not
I'd
at
like
all.
to know more. Okay, great.
Which ones?
Thank you.
Which ones did you have? ChargePoint?
We have ChargePoint, and I forget
Yeah.
who installed them.
Their modem,
do you have
their modem aged out and could not be replaced. So I'm happy
Yeah.
to talk to you about it.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Obsolescence. Thomas.
Yes, just a correction. There are fast charging stations on Route 23 at the Stewarts, and they've been there for about 2 years.
Right. Those are Tesla chargers. So this is the first non-Tesla charger, I think, high speed level 3 in the county. But thanks for that, Thomas. That's right. Kara?
Quick thing about Copake, I just wanted to mention, I don't know what, besides Chatham, I think we might be the second town in the county that's applying for community preservation funds. And we filed it with the state, and it's waiting, I'm basically waiting for the governor to sign. And then we'll have to go through that whole process like Chatham did of getting the voters to, do a referendum on it. But I wanted to give a heads up and find out if anybody else is doing that in the county, because I think it's really interesting stuff. And I'm really pleased that Copake moved forward with this. And we're also doing our comprehensive plan for the town. And I know a bunch of other towns have either completed theirs or are in the process. But if anybody has any thoughts, I think we have a final round. We're still waiting for surveys to come in. But if anybody has any thoughts or recommendations, if they've just gone through theirs, they want to just shoot me an email that they think was a big thing that, came up for them on a climate smart issue. We're trying really hard to make sure that we address all of that in our plan, but there's a lot of other competing interests.
Great. Laura?
Yeah, hi. We're continuing with our cleanups in River Street Park. The next one is October 25th, Saturday from 10 to 12. And in relation, we're also moving towards finding ways to protect the hemlock forest that's in Pachacuac Preserve. So we've been working with Dylan Sipkowski from Columbia County Soil and Water. He's been very resourceful, came through. We have just not very much, but we do have a small infestation of the woolly galded. I don't know that I'm saying it right. The moth that attacks those trees. It's not so bad, but we're seeing what we can do about finding ways to prevent it. So we've talked to New Leaf, and I'm looking for grants to help with that. We've also started with Pachacuac finding ways to remove the tree of heaven, which is starting to infringe on the beautiful hemlock forest. So that's the advice has been to protect the areas that you most want to protect, and these places where the tree of heaven or any of the other invasives have become so you know, so numerous. So yeah, we're concentrating on certain areas, and that's definitely the hemlock forest that's in Patrick Park. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura. Important stuff. The spotted lanternfly is in Columbia County, and it will be likely something significant, if not next year, the year after. And the pattern that's emerged from places that have had it is really bad for a year or two, and then it starts to diminish. The tree of heaven is its favorite food source. And apparently, according to Doug Tallamy, when it eats the tree of heaven, when it's eating that, it has a kind of a foul taste. Why wouldn't you, eating an ailanthus, right? And it doesn't taste very good. So birds aren't familiar with the insect, so they're not really targeting it. What he's noted is, and I don't know how documented this is, but whatever he says, I believe, if you remove the tree of heaven, it doesn't remove the insect, but they'll start eating other things, which it makes them more palatable to birds, and birds also kind of become attuned to it and say, oh, this is a food source, and they start eating it, and then there's a kind of a drop in the population. So so if you have tree of heaven, and you want to talk about how to get rid of it, we've done a bunch of work here, and there are some tried and true methods, and then a bunch that don't work. So we can talk about that offline. Just let me know. Brenda.
Is there a difference between tree of heaven and sumac, or are they the same thing?
There's definitely a big difference. Sumac is native. The common sumac, the staghorn sumac that we have here, you see it along roadways and everything. It looks similar, and walnuts can sometimes look similar to the leaf structure. And the ailanthus has like a whiter bark. It's a very brittle, it's very easy to break. And it has a certain smell, kind of a foul smell to it. The ailanthus doesn't get red. The leaves don't get red at this time of year like the sumac does. It doesn't present the same kind of flower that dries that you can use as a spice. So it's definitely different. The tree of heaven is the ailanthus. That's the Latin name. But they can be confused for sure. Anyway, so get ready for that next pest. But apparently it's not the end of the world. It's just pretty bad for a year or two. So any other updates? Don.
I just noticed that Christina did sign on after we skipped over her to the agenda. I just wanted to, not to put her on the spot, but give her the opportunity to, if she has any updates.
Let's put her on the spot. She could always.
Put me on the spot. Yeah. Sorry, I'm late. I was in another meeting, but not a whole lot to report. We do have an event with the Clean Energy Hub coming up in Hudson on the 29th at the Spark of Hudson. It's kind of a we did an energy affordability workshop there with Hudson High School students over the summer, and they really wanted to make a book of the things they learned. So we worked together on that. So it's going to be like a book launch party, pizza party on the roof in their beautiful like native garden there on the evening of the 29th. I don't have a flyer yet. I should have one by the end of the week, and I will pass that maybe to Dave and Don to distribute to you guys if you want to help spread the word. I think it'll be great. It's a lot of how to read your utility bill, how to participate in a rate case, kind of why bills are going up, and how we can try to mitigate some of that, both with using less energy and also being involved in the public process.
I just read the other day that an AI search versus a Google search uses about 8 times the amount of energy.
Yeah, and crazy amount of water too.
So just in terms of what we do online collectively. So thanks for that, Christina. Any other updates, local or countywide, that we haven't touched on? Okay. So I want to use this time to we've mentioned a few things that maybe we could add to the list, but to brainstorm a bit about some projects that we could be doing right now in the next 6 months, next year. We've gone a little bit quiet. The clean energy projects are moving forward. We were kind of hoping to be really engaged in the climate action plan by now, and that has been delayed, obviously. So So we've talked about, using the regional climate action plan, becoming more conversant in that, looking at those recommendations, seeing what we can bring to the county from there before we have our own climate action plan. That's one thing. But before we go through a list of what we might be able to do, and of course we're limited because we're all volunteers here, except for Don, and Don can't do that much as a half-time employee doing. He's full with what he has to do already for the work here. So we can't just turn to Don and say, can you do a whole bunch more? It's a challenge to find those projects where we can find external funding, and we, working with Don and working with the staff at the county, can help to bring projects to bear. But there are things that we can do in addition to what we've done so far. And I'm not trying to diminish what we've done. Very proud, but we need to keep moving forward. Why? Because the assault on climate and energy is unprecedented. We know this, but it's important, I think, to just recall what's happening, because it can become a blur, an overwhelming blur that we don't really want to. So if you want to mute me, you can mute me, but it's hard to handle. But this should inspire us and remind us as to why we're trying to do what we can at the local level. Just a list, no order of priorities or importance. They're all important, but just some things to just kind of jog our memories of what's happening. The Clean Air Act endangerment finding, which found that greenhouse gases are a pollutant under the Clean Air Act, was found in 2009, kind of a bedrock legal basis for power plant rule, for a lot of our rules around transportation, requiring reductions in greenhouse gas emissions from the largest emission sector, transportation. That has been proposed to be rescinded. It's a proposal out. That, of course, will go to the Supreme Court. That'll be the second time it goes to the Supreme Court. It was upheld in the mid-teens, 2010s. We don't know what's going to happen this time. There have been rampant staff and budget cuts that we've been hearing about almost on a daily basis, but to kind of key offices, science offices at EPA, Interior, at the national labs that do a lot of advanced research. The National Climate Assessment is the report, kind of the national appraisal of where we're at, what we use in international fora when we are participating in those fora. It's also a major source of information for scientists and policymakers around the country, around the world, and at the local level. So that group of scientists were, quote, released, and this is several months ago, and that assessment is not going to happen unless it gets reversed by the courts, and it won't happen wholeheartedly while Trump is in office. The hydrofluorocarbons, these are chemicals that are used mainly in refrigeration. They were regulated under the Montreal Protocol because of the ozone hole originally. And then we realized, or maybe we already knew this, but policymakers realized that it's one of the most potent set of greenhouse gases, much more than carbon dioxide or even methane. And so the reductions that have occurred under the Montreal Protocol have been more impactful from a climate standpoint. They've also helped the ozone hole than any other international climate agreement that's gone into effect. And we're phasing them out, which is good news. Well, for reasons that really are hard to understand, other than just an animus against anything environmental and anyone that proposes something environmentally sustainable, the Trump administration is rescinding the rule to phase them out. They want to keep the HFCs. For 15 years, we've had a rule, and this goes to the endangerment finding under the Clean Air Act. It also required factories and refineries to report greenhouse gases. So we have good data on where we're at and where we're going. So big industrial emitters had to report, no longer. Again, most of these things are being challenged by environmental groups and in court. And hopefully we'll see many of them stopped or slowed down. But nonetheless, this is their agenda. the Energy Star program, Department of Energy, that helps our appliances become more efficient, windows and other things. Huge cost savings have come out of that program for customers, for consumers, because our appliances are a lot more efficient than they used to be. That program's been gutted. The Climate Smart Commodities program at the Department of Agriculture, which led to hundreds of grants for farms and agricultural sector participants to implement all sorts of clean energy and sustainable agricultural projects, have been, that was canceled, then it was brought back. A lot of those projects are halted or not going to be funded. The attacks on wind and solar have been particularly pervasive, comprehensive. It seems a personal problem that our president has with the site of offshore wind turbines. I think this was triggered by a visit to one of his golf courses in Scotland, and he was appalled by the view of it. But nonetheless, there is an agenda, a broad-based agenda, and there are, I counted at least a half dozen projects that are huge offshore wind projects, like and onshore wind. An Idaho wind project, 1,000 megawatts, would have supported 500,000 homes. That's been canceled. Revolution Wind project off of the East Coast, 80% completed off of Rhode Island, 704 megawatts. We're talking hundreds of thousands of homes. There's a Nevada solar project, 6.2 gigawatts, 2 million homes, canceled. These projects that were in some level of work already can help us address our obvious the energy demands that we have. We keep reading every day about how electricity demand is on the rise. Renewables seem to get the blame, electric cars get the blame, but the vast majority of that is from AI data centers and crypto mining. Some of it is because we are shifting our energy infrastructure onto the grid through heat pumps, through EVs. So certainly some of it is that. We need all of these energy sources to be online, and it seems so short-sighted, but this is where we're at. There are also tariffs that are being put on imported parts for solar and wind, tariffs. So those are just some of the measures that are out there. There was last one I'll mention, $20 billion in grants for renewables under the bipartisan infrastructure law from the last administration. Those were canceled as well. So these were rescinded already, and we've seen this a lot with Congress basically capitulating to the executive branch and not standing up to defend the funding that it's already allocated, and instead seeing it go away. Again, these things are being challenged in court. We'll see how it plays out. But the damage that's done before a final decision after appeal is huge, and sometimes it's irreparable. And that's assuming you can get it reversed. So we all know what we can do about that, and that is, vote. But that's not something we can do at a county level, and that's not the point of why I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing it up because it's hard to stomach, hard for us to take in, and that's the intent. The intent is for us to hear it and zone it out and then give up, right? That's the kind of dishearten. It's the disheartening kind of campaign. So what are we going to do? What other projects can we engage in here in our volunteer bases, and all of the great things that people continue to do in their towns that are not involved in this this task force? It's inspiring. This summer I've been inspired. Events and activities and projects and plantings and all sorts of things that people are doing. I think more and more it's great, and I love it, and I appreciate every one of you for doing what you're doing. But what as a task force can we do? And just to throw a few things out, maybe we can brainstorm. I mean, there are local events that would require us to organize and volunteer to raise awareness. Maybe there's some opportunity for a climate film series that we could do. Maybe we could reach out to Basilica or somewhere else and see. I don't know. Maybe there is something being planned that I'm not aware of. The Crandall Theater in Chatham is just reopening. Maybe we can get something scheduled for 2026. Maybe there's something already scheduled, and please tell us if it is. Those are ideas. We could we could ask the Board of Supervisors to write a letter of support for climate initiatives in the county, just as a statement that we're not subject to the partisan issues that are affecting our national environmental and climate policy. I do think the work that we've done has been bipartisan or nonpartisan, and some of the best champions of these projects that the county has implemented, they're not only Democrats, they're Republicans. And so it hasn't been a partisan issue. We've been very careful to not do that. So maybe we can get a letter of support from the Board of Supervisors. I don't know what that would say. It's just a brainstorm. Reviewing the greenhouse gas inventory for the regional one, and trying to find other projects that might actually be something we can make some progress on here while we're waiting to develop our own action plan. Tree planting, other types of activities like that, planning those for next spring would be great. So those are just, some broad-based ideas. Brenda, you're muted.
I was wondering if maybe we could start to focus now on what Earth Day might look like. And if you wanted to do a film festival and or community tree planting, to start thinking about it now for around that period of time. Because we have Earth Day and Arbor Day right on top of each other in the spring.
Yep, that's great.
And I'd be willing to, if you wanted to have a subcommittee to talk about, organizing around Earth Day or Arbor Day, I'd be willing to serve on that. So
Great.
I'll give you not only an idea, but a pair of hands.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. I'm already inspired. Christina.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to add another point of concern to the list, which is there has been a massive defunding of the Office of Temporary Disability and Assistance, and that is affecting energy in a big way, as well as health and safety. They've completely done away with, fully gone, the HER program, heating, efficiency, repair, and replacement. And that helped about 4,500 families statewide last year replace really old, broken, highly inefficient furnaces with very, very efficient furnaces. So now there's no mechanism for doing that whatsoever. NYSERDA has allocated $1 million statewide, which will help about 166 families, and they will also have to contribute thousands of dollars because the cap is much lower than the HER was. So we're going to see a lot of families without heat this winter, or working with very, very broken systems leaking carbon monoxide into their homes. So I think I'm just trying to spread awareness. I'm not hearing anyone talking about that. There hasn't been any news articles or anything. So just making sure that when you are speaking to people about all the other issues, that's really a big one. And that was from my understanding, a state decision, not a federal one. So it does feel like something that there could be more leverage to change.
Can you repeat, Christina, the name of the program?
It's the HER program, HERR, Heating, Efficiency, Repair, and Replacement. I might have what the E is wrong. Let me look.
Did you say it was for families with disabilities?
No, it's for anyone who's low income.
Okay.
So it's through the same mechanism as the HEAP program, where people get a few $100s off their heating bill. That used to also include furnace replacement if needed, and clean and tune. So people would get their furnaces maintained yearly, really cutting down on carbon monoxide in the home as well. And the clean and tune and the heating replacement program have been dissolved.
Was that a budget thing passed through the legislature, or was that a rule, like something done through the?
It's been a little bit difficult to figure out, but I think it was through the governor's office.
Okay, thanks. So other thoughts, ideas? I really like Brenda's idea of kind of focusing it. We have time, and we can focus in on what kind of Earth Day events, not just specific things, events that we can be behind and start partnering with folks on. Always happy for tree planting, and if there's some other awareness raising that we can lend a hand to push forward. Go ahead, Brenda.
Well, I was thinking that we could also promote the Cornell Bare Roots Tree Planting Program. And I love Christina's idea around if this program is closed and if it's a state program, maybe we need to identify other programs that may be adversely affected by funding, whether it's federal or state funding, and consider an advocacy day with our meeting with our representatives to talk about the importance of these projects. The towns go, the highway departments go, most of the nonprofits go for some form of advocacy. Maybe we need to think about, getting these issues front and center.
Yeah. Kara.
All great ideas. I had a question. If individual towns, because I've heard some rumblings and read about some rumblings, are experiencing pushback on any of these sort of climate smart projects, how can we help? For those of us who come from towns that so far are very supportive of that, can we think about and brainstorm ways about trying to help our neighbors to see if, what might be useful from an experience we're having or we had, how we changed resistance to doing good environmental things and helping them? Because I'm definitely seeing a little bit of a shift. It's not huge, but it's out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have other people? Sorry, got that. Thanks, Kara. Have other people seen or heard of this happening in their towns or somewhere else? Brenda, you're shaking your head.
We had pushback over replacing the electrical charger, the EV chargers. People were happy to accept them when we could pay for them with a grant, but the idea of paying for them out of pocket was a different discussion altogether. We were able to make a convincing case and eventually got the approval to do it. But the way it was couched was that we're spending tax funds for a service that so few people in our town use. There's so few electrical cars in our town. And why would we spend, taxpayers' dollars for that purpose? So we made, an argument, which we can discuss at a later point, but we are starting to see that kind of pushback. As long as the CEC funding was out there for solar panels, heat pumps, EV chargers, whatever towns were willing, they had their hands out. They were happy to do it. But I think it'll be a different climb associated with having to allocate town funds for it. And maybe we should think, to Kara's point about putting together a strategy or an argument for why it's important to do it.
Steve.
Hey. Yeah, I think education is critical, and we're seeing that, especially in this election cycle now. Pushback after all the things that the projects that we installed for solar, heat pumps, et cetera, in town buildings. People are complaining, it's just a lot of lies. They're saying they don't work and they're, it's going to cost the town more and all this stuff. But what we did is benchmarking for the garage and the town hall, which both have solar panels on them and heat pumps. And we found that it's projected to save $7,700 in electric bills, in fuel bills overall. So I think that helped. And I even, when we had the presentation at town hall afterwards, we had one guy who's always criticized it come up to me and say, "Oh, tell me more about heat pumps." So, but there is just a lot of misinformation out there, unfortunately. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No problem. Good.
That's right. I mean, it makes me think a strategy and also, some sort of fact sheet that we could put out. Maybe that leads to some letter of support with some specifics of what the county's experience has been to kind of shore up support that this is a nonpartisan issue in our area. And there's been a lot of success throughout our towns and the county with regard to projects that have saved money and continue to save money and pay for themselves, that bring money in. And then like facts and fiction, a lot of what we're hearing is electricity. We mentioned it before, electricity costs are going up everywhere. Why is that? There are a lot of factors, but it's easy to scapegoat renewables or not renewables, but electric cars, heat pumps, and green energy or green technology as the cause. And I think a lot of people have latched onto that. And we're seeing, certainly at the federal level, a cut in funding the renewable energy credits, the subsidy for electric cars. So that's going to have an impact. And we're hearing every day that car companies are reducing, they're taking losses, they're reducing their output of electric cars. The demand seems to be dropping. So there's a huge kind of knock-on effect of what's happening out there that people are hearing, and they, make conclusions. So it would be helpful to clarify, like, who pays for the charging at the charging station? We're not giving away free electricity. We're not giving away free gas, essentially for people. That's we could put something together, I think, that would resonate, especially on these economic arguments, without getting into like why we're doing this for the climate even. And I think that could be a really, could resonate with people, and we could use that both to educate folks. We could use it to get resolutions of support from our towns, go to our towns and say, we'd like a letter or a resolution to reiterate our support for clean energy and climate smart because of the benefits that it's brought. And we want to make sure that that remains strong. We could do that at the county level, possibly. So I like this idea of maybe getting together like I don't want to call it a policy group, but there's also this other aspect of it, which is the, what is happening at the state level, like Christina was talking about. So there are policy issues. There's a possibility for an advocacy day. So there's, kind of setting the record straight at the local level, and getting a strategy for that. And then also what's happening at the state, maybe even local level in terms of policy that we could weigh in on potentially. That two different kind of thoughts there that are emerging.
One other thing too, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I saw, and I'm sorry I didn't read it, your chat, Christine, about Empower Plus. And I had heard that the state had cut the funding for that. Do you know what the deal is on that?
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a complicated, the state is pretending they didn't cut the funding in a way that's pretty frustrating. But they did. It helped, I think, 36,000 folks across the state last year, and the projection for next year, I think, is 8,000 that they have budgeted for. And it is complicated how it's funded, and it's funded through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, as well as through the Sustainable Future Fund, as well as through the legislator, as well as through, there's like 7 funding streams. So they're kind of like, oh no, like this is great, it's fine, but it's much, much less than it was. And the crunch is very real as people's SNAP and HEAP benefits are cut federally. Also, not having a way of reducing their energy bills is really pretty. It's been rough in that world right now. So yeah, I mean, we as the Clean Energy Hub can do no advocacy, but if anyone, does think that that's a valuable program and wants to bend the ear of anyone, that may be useful. I think it really is a very powerful program. And I think, with a contraction like what we're having, the rural population will be hit the hardest because it's already hard to get Empower contractors to some of our most rural areas. I think some of you on this call have experienced that. And if they are only going to get a few jobs a week, they're definitely not going to travel an hour outside of their territory to do something like that. And I think that's really been falling on deaf ears to the state legislature, who is saying that they're prioritizing getting people off of delivered fuels. If you want to put someone on a heat pump, you absolutely need to be working on their building envelope first, or their bills are going to be astronomical. And, we have so many people who are on incredibly old oil furnaces. I've helped people in Columbia County get off coal, which I didn't know was still here, and it starts with the building envelope. It starts with keeping the energy efficiency in no matter what the fuel is. And we're not going to be able to get anyone to the rural areas if there's less and less funding.
Yeah, I mean, it just occurs to me that, we're due to have town board elections coming up, and incumbents and challengers are great targets for this type of, to educate them on what's happening on these types of things and get them to speak out or commit to speaking out to try to influence, because this is affecting, the number one issue for so many people of cost of living and quality of living, which is, under attack from so many different angles. So this seems like this would resonate with folks that are campaigning on that idea of trying to make it easier for people to live a decent life. That's kind of what I hear at the town level, of like what people are saying they're going to do on both sides. And my question is always like, where's the beef? Like, what are you actually going to do? We can give them ideas as to programs that need to be reinstated, and of course the towns can't do that, but they can become a vocal, they can help us lobby.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a very important district for that. With, Dee Barrett being the chair of the Energy Committee for the state. I'm going to put in the chat, I was at a conference last week of all the hubs around the state trying to work on some of these issues. And I think I've talked to you guys before about the regional barriers analysis that we did. The Southern Tier actually made a video of theirs, and I think it's really it's less than 20 minutes. I think it's a really great tool for teaching people the value of that program. It's a good one, and it's pretty similar housing stock to what we have here is displayed there in that video.
All right, thanks, Christina. John.
Yeah, going back to pushback. I don't know if it's really pushback, but we're losing at least $5,000 a year from the maintenance of our garage shell. And we had an energy audit that laid out a solution to that. And we contributed $25,000 of CEC funds, and the town is just unwilling to move a hand to make any effort to implement that. So we're about to go into the second winter of not dealing with these things. It boggles the mind that even when it's clearly money out of our pockets, that they won't spend a penny and won't even spend money that we've gotten them. Anyways, it's probably not pushback. It's probably not pushback. It's probably just standard operating procedure and attitude, but it's kind of amazing to me.
What do they, even when you challenge them or bring it up, is there an excuse that's given? Any rationalization on their side?
No, they say they've handed it off to their engineering consultants. I found some consultants who would come in and contractors to do it, but there's some additional pieces that need to be done. And they said they've handed it off to their engineering contractee to find somebody else, to deal with it. And they have for months just not given us an update. So it's just, just an unwillingness, and they'd rather that they just, ignore it.
Yeah. What about public shame? Going to Columbia
I was just going
paper,
to ask that question.
or to some other news outlet and having them write an article. It sounds pretty juicy. If I was a local journalist, I'd be all over that. It sounds like so counterproductive, wasting tax dollars. It's already, I don't know how much it would cost, but at least a bunch of the cost, if not all the cost, is covered by that.
We got it down to a 3-year payback.
Yeah. So maybe reach out to Deborah Lands. She's a good person. She writes a lot on the environment and other kind of social justice issues. And she might refer you to someone else. I can put you in touch with her, but
I've been in touch with Deborah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say try to get an article, try to get one of your friendly town board members to come on the record.
That's the problem. There's 5 older white conservative male Republicans.
You don't have
So
any
there's no,
friends anymore.
so there's no one that'll raise the question or challenge. It's just, this is a historical pattern, and maybe something will change in November, but who knows?
Well, what about, your climate smart task force could be the proponent of this article. Doesn't need to be a town board member, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. I just wanted to just sort of throw out as, I suspect that this attitude is the majority board member. And I think a lot of you have a lot of this in your community. Steve certainly mentioned it. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out where we're debating as to how to follow up.
It would be helpful to have a tool or some tools and also a strategy broadly that we could help each other. If we had a fact sheet that could talk about and document all the cost savings and all the common sense of what we're promoting in so many ways, and all of these initiatives and how much money has come in and how much it's saved. I know Tara has some of the county numbers for how much money we've raised collectively through these programs, and we can document at least some of the cost savings on some of those projects pretty easily. That would be, unfortunately, we don't have any funding to hire someone to do a quick study that could really comprehensively document that. That would be the best, but we could do something quick and dirty, a 1 or 2 pager with documenting examples and giving some, overall number, but really just giving some cases where, look, this stuff, just how do you argue with it? You're losing $5,000 a year. It's just going out through the whole day.
What some of the opposition candidates do publicize this.
Yeah, the trap is, and we don't want to get into it, is we don't want to be caught up in a partisan, we want to make sure that we hold the line. We don't want to turn this into, if we can help it, a campaign event that, the ousted Democrats start talking about how, climate smart is being, ignored, or these efforts are being ignored because we've made so much progress in this generally a nonpartisan way. It's just, there is this powerful, zeitgeist kind of change that's occurred.
That's very much the dilemma we do. We have a reasonably good working relationship, even though they don't get anything done. And if we go into an oppositional mode in climate smart, then we won't even have a voice.
Well, I hear you, but I think the key is not going into a partisan oppositional mode, not aligning yourselves with Democrats in this case right? But you can still bring attention to it, and that may have an impact, and they might get pissed off. But then what are they going to disband the Climate Smart Task Force? Well, that's another story. Hopefully they don't do that, but at some point you have to push back, right? Thomas.
Yeah, just a comment to that, John. I noticed Cloudrock has finally changed out its street lights. So, have you seen the drop in energy bills from that change out? And just play up the positive.
Well,
You know,
that was
this is
one of
an
the things-
example of how.
That was one of the, exactly, thank you. That was one of the things that we actually did accomplish. And I have asked them to have their accountant maybe take note of some of the effects that it might have, but they have not responded for that. They have a part-time accountant now. They used to have a full-time, and they just they don't see any urgency in pulling together that information. I mean, it would be to their credit that they did something.
Yeah. All right. Any other ideas for us as a group? We can
Thank you,
ruminate on, let's just send them around. You can send them to Don, send them to me. We can send them out to the group. Then we can get back to some of this at the next meeting, and maybe what we do in November, which is only a couple weeks away because we're mid-month now. I don't know when the first Thursday in November is, but it's 2 or 3 weeks away. So maybe at that point we can kind of say, yeah, we've got a group that wants to work on Earth Day projects, and think about if you want to join Brenda's group. And then, if there's another group that wants to work with Steve potentially and others on and Christina on, I'm kind of nominating you guys, but I don't know, on their ideas at least, of more kind of thinking about policy that we can kind of lean in on and weigh in on, or we can help others weigh in on that is meaningful, and having state policies that are having, bad impacts on our communities and community members that are within the kind of climate smart umbrella, the related energy, affordability, equity. And then what we were talking about before, which is some sort of fact sheet, setting the record straight, fact versus fiction, why these programs make so much sense, and making sure that we have that at the ready to almost take it on before it becomes a problem. So I see those as, the last thing is we talked, maybe familiarizing yourself, if you've got the time, on the the climate action plan at the regional level. If you haven't looked at it, see what jumps out at you for local action, if anything. Christina.
I am really happy to talk about what I'm seeing on the ground, and people can draw their own conclusions. But the way my position is funded, I can't be involved directly in any sort of advocacy on policy.
Understood.
But I would actually be very happy to be on the Earth Day committee.
Great. Perfect. So think about those things. We'll send a message out before the next meeting. And hopefully we can kind of reinvigorate some of these projects that we can focus in on and do some meaningful work in the next, several months, next 6 months, as we endure what maybe is the worst time. I mean, James Watt was bad during the Reagan administration. Remember that? That was bad. That was 1980s. We thought that was the worst ever. We've had many bouts of anti-environmental kind of policy. This is at a level that no one's seen. So let's keep focused on what we can do while we bide our time, and oppose what's happening nationally, but really focus in on what we can do proactively locally. So thanks for the discussion. We'll be meeting. When is it should be on our calendars, but it's the first Thursday of November, which is coming up in
November
the 6th, 4th, Election Day. How about that? So
No, it's
we'll
the
vote.
6th.
Oh, that's a Tuesday. Sorry. Of course. I have my calendar was all off. Right. Tuesday the 6th. Thank you guys. Don't show up on the 4th. I mean, go to vote, but don't show up. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.